Joining me now, one of the Democrats who attended Hicks's interview today, Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu of California. Congressman, what was it like?
Thank you, Chris, for your question. Let me first make clear that the Trump administration is obstructing every line of inquiry from Congress. For example, we want to know, why is the Trump administration suing to eliminate health care coverage for Americans with pre-existing conditions? They're blocking us. Specific to Hope Hicks' testimony today, they were asserting something that doesn't exist. The White House attorneys and Department of Justice attorneys were saying she has absolute immunity. That's not a thing. No court has ever recognized it. They're going to get destroyed in federal court.
Well, okay, so is that before I want to get to that, I want to you start off with something that I've been curious about. We've been tracking, and it's hard to track in the sort of public record, document production by this White House along a range of questions, whether it's Puerto Rico, the census. Right. Lots of document requests have come from Congress doing routine oversight, nothing to do with Mueller. Has any of that, just the most basic, obvious, constitutionally empowered oversight, has any of that been met by this administration?
Most of it has not. That's why you saw the Oversight Committee actually hold Wilbur Ross in contempt. We are getting some movement from Attorney General Bill Barr, so now they're letting members of the House Judiciary Committee and House Intel Committee review the underlying evidence. So we're getting some movement there, but for most lines of inquiry, we're getting total obstruction by the Trump administration.
Now, to this doctrine of this absolute immunity, the chair of the committee, Jerry Nadler, said the White House is having the doctrine of absolute immunity, which we will destroy in court. I have to say, I'm not a lawyer, but I have never heard of absolute immunity, which sounds extremely powerful, almost comic book-like. What is that?
What the White House is asserting is that Hope Hicks doesn't have to say a single thing about her time in the White House. That's patently absurd, and it was so absurd that we would ask questions such as, where is your office located? Objection. And finally, it got so absurd, I actually asked a question. I'm very excited it got through. I basically said, okay, on your first day of work at the White House, was a day or a cloudy day? They did let her answer that question.
Okay, now I actually now understand this for the first time. So what an executive privilege is a claim about the constitutional protection for the president to get unvarnished advice. That pertains to some specific subset of discussions that happen in a White House. What you're telling me is the White House isn't making that claim. They're making a broader claim that literally no scintilla of fact about her time in the White House does she have to testify to congressional oversight about. That is what separates absolute immunity from executive privilege invocations.
That is absolutely correct. So, for example, she did talk about her time on the campaign. And on the campaign, she was directed by Donald Trump to basically lie to the American people about Karen McDougal, the hush money payments, and so on. And then she was asked a follow-up question about her time in the White House, because she, at that point, would have realized that what she said was a lie, and they would not let her answer it because it was at her time in the White House.
So I guess the next step will be some litigation about this in court, and whether the courts will find for it. You think they'll be destroyed. Do you worry that there is essentially now too much riding on the courts, right? That they have essentially met all of your subpoenas and your calls with blocks and legal maneuvering that will then be litigated in the courts, and that allows them to sort of run the clock out on what you're trying to do?
That's a good point. So we have asked for expedited review, and in two of the previous court cases that we won, we got expedited review going to appellate courts. In this case, we're going to litigate it. We're going to win in court. We're also going to ask, again, for expedited review. But we can also take a separate action known as inherent contempt, where we can impose fines without having to go through a court process. We don't want to do that. We want to try the court process first, but that is always out there to get witnesses to comply.
All right, Congressman Ted Lieu, thank you very much. Next, as Bolton